So I brought the Radian Extra Large out today, the 2.6 meter Radian glider, because I wanted to have that out. But to get it into the Mini, it's a small car, so the only way you get it in is to take the wings and the horizontal stabilizers off completely. So we got I don't know, a couple of screws to put the horizontal stabilizers back on, 5 to put the center wing on, and then 2 and some struts to put on the outer wings to reassemble the thing before it's going to be ready for flight, which is probably the first thing I'm going to do. So here we are. I've just about got the Radian Extra Large assembled. There we go, that's the last one. Looks a teeny bit cockeyed, I don't know why, but that's it, it's assembled. And it took about a quarter of an hour, basically. Took me about a quarter of an hour. I see we got a bit of a bump there. Well, it gets a bit of hanger rash because it's carted around a lot and it's big and it's hard to put in things, and it definitively looks cockeyed, but, well, I don't know. It does look cockeyed, doesn't it? But I think there must just be a bit of a twist in the fuselage, because there's not as much I can do about that. Anyway, so there we are. My glasses are... I took my glasses off to do that, and they've messed it up, sitting on the bench. Oh well. So he's basically ready to fly. I don't know if he's the first thing I'm going to fly today, but he's basically ready to fly. Hey, well, I just tried the confounded salto again, and the motor mount has come apart again, so that's not working. It's not one thing, it's another with that blithering thing. I got it briefly in the air last time with Don's help, but I couldn't really control it in the high winds. And now the motor mount has come off at the back again, so the motor's tilting down, so that's not going to work. So we're going to try the Radian Extra Large. And we are set up with the Radian Extra Large. Right, left, up, down, that's mid-rates.
Low rates.
I think low rates should actually be high enough there. And we're...
Spoilers. Speed brake open. Speed brake closed.
Okay, we don't want speed brake.
Throttle cut off. Throttle cut on.
Okay, so we're throttle cut and we're ready to go, and it's all assembled and screwed together. God, it's heavy. It's a heavy thing, this is. Not a light plane. Not a light plane. Okay, so...
Throttle cut off.
I do not like hand launching planes myself. I mean, it's hard work. Trying to throw a plane, a big heavy plane yourself, and then get on the sticks. It's not very high, but you could do with going a lot higher than that. And I don't know, no, I had him in low rates because he seems like he's got pretty high throws. It's probably 2 years since I flew this. I don't think I got this out last year. I don't think it's gliding nicely. I don't think we're going to find any thermals. There's no way you're going to find a thermal around here at this time in the morning. But you can't complain about how it's gliding. But it took me about a quarter of an hour to assemble because I had to take the wings and horizontal stabilizers off completely to get it in the small car. And it's not that easy a plane to launch yourself. Well, it's just heavy. It's a heavy plane. You've got to hold it up and throw it and then get on the stick. At least it works, unlike that confounded salto that for one reason or another always goes down. weight. It did actually rise a bit there. It must have hit some sort of little rising current there, because it actually went up a little bit as it went over there. It was a plane inbound to Hamilton, I think, there over on that we just passed by. It's basically only 3-channel. It's only 3-channel control. And it has a 4th channel, but the 4th channel's used for those speed brakes, which are, I don't know what you'd say there for a nice slow pass there. Eh? Let's go up again then. Well, not quite that steeply. It doesn't really have enough power to climb quite that steep. It's got a pretty lot of power, fair lot of power. It's a 3-cell. An old battery as well though, so I wouldn't push it too much. But it has enough power to climb pretty well. I'm just trying to go a little bit higher this time. And as usual with a glider, try and level off before we cut the power so we don't stall. Because if we climb and then cut the power, while it's still pointing up, it's going to stall and you're going to waste some of the height you've acquired. Yes, it's nice looking up there. Catching the sun, because the sun's just coming up on the horizon. It's just about sunrise. So I can't really see the sun yet, but the sun's catching the bottom wing of the plane there. I didn't put a camera on the plane, so there's no plane. I didn't even bring a plane camera with me today, so could have done. There's another plane, but I don't know where he's going. He's really high. He's already well on his way. Commercial jet of some sort. Well, this guy certainly glides fine. You know, he's a nice glider, and if you're in a situation where you can find thermals, you can keep him gliding for a long while. But he glides pretty well, even just in the still air. He glides pretty well. He'd get brought out more often if it wasn't so necessary to take him alive and life to have the Concendo, and if I want to fly a glider, I tend to fly the Concendo more because I can just throw the Concendo in the car as is, whereas this guy has to come apart. Well, he comes apart even at home for storage because he takes up a lot of room the way he is. So. And then he's got to be fitted into the car and assembled and everything. But he is nice once he gets up there. And he has the speed brakes. Well, I mean, they're basically for landing, I guess. I mean, why else would you want to use the speed brakes? They're just, I guess, they're basically to make it, so you can land him on a shorter field, because he does tend to glide so horizontally. If you didn't have the speed brakes, it would be a little tricky to land him neatly on a shorter field. I think actually with the amount of runway we got here, you could land him fine without the speed brakes, really. But, about time to go up again, eh? Time enough for a piece of wood.
Time remaining 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't take that too literally because, as I say, this is not a new battery by any means. It's an E-Flight battery, but it's as old as the plane or a bit older. I did precisely what I said not to do there. It doesn't really do any great harm, but I stalled him. I couldn't quite judge what was horizontal or what, and I took the power off while he was still pointing up and stalled him. Has no great consequence except you waste a little bit of the height you've acquired. Definitely in the sun there, you can see. I'm disappointed I couldn't get that Salto to fly again, but the motor's come off. It's not come off, it doesn't come off, but it's the duct, the fastener for the duct at the back has broken, so tilts down, I'm not talking about this, I'm talking about the Salto now, the other little powered glider thing I've got there. Which I've never, unlike this, I've never had any trouble flying this. I've never got the Salto to fly properly between one thing and another. Couldn't get the balance right, and the controls are have very, very minimal throws. It's got a V-tail, and as I say, where the duct, it's a ducted fan, and where the duct attaches to the arm, it swings up on an arm, so you can retract the ducted fan inside for gliding. And where it's just held onto the arm by 2 screws, and one of them, the plastic where one of them screws in was broken when I got it, I think, at a swap meet. So the motor just kept coming loose and tilting forward, and it's bad enough having thrust above the line of the plane anyway, and then when it tilts down as well, you're never going to get the plane up in the air. I'll have to try. I epoxied it, but it's come off. The epoxy's come loose. So I don't know what'll hold it. It needs something pretty strong because, you know, the whole force of the motor is trying to pull it out. I don't know. It's going to be tough to repair enough that it'll hold up. This guy's got some dings on, but they're basically hanger rash. They're dings from trying to carry his bits around in the house and the car and whatever. I tried to put him into the small car with the Mini with the middle section of the wing on, which is how I used to put him in the other car, and I ended up breaking off one of the tabs that holds the outer. Well, I didn't break the tab, I just made it come unglued because there just wasn't enough room, and trying to wiggle the thing into the car, I broke the tab off and had to glue it back on. That was the most recent repair, and I noticed there's a bit of a ding to where the wing sections join, so there's a little, you can't see it now, it's not big enough to see from the ground, and I don't think it's big enough to affect the flying of the plane. But there is a sort of ding in the front of the wing where it's hit something while I've been trying to fit it in here and there. And it's got a few scrapes on the surface of the foam here and there. It's unfortunate, but it's hard to avoid some hanger rash when you're always, especially with something big like this, where you're carrying it round and trying to jam it into tight corners and things. Anybody can complain we're disturbing the neighbourhood, although it does make a bit of a whine when it climbs, of course. The nice thing about this field is there's nobody, you know, the nearest people living are down at the end of the road, so they're quite a way away. So if I were flying big gas planes, I suppose I might disturb them, but I don't think I'm going to disturb them with this. They're not even going to notice the electric one. I don't think I call this a little electric thing, but they're not going to notice the electric things I fly, basically. So I can come out here.
Time remaining. 4 minutes.
Yeah, probably make this the last circuit actually, as I say, because it's a pretty old battery. It's an E-Flight 3200 3-cell. Have a couple of these. Need them for the apprentice as well. And, well, I guess the Tiger Moth, I was using them for the Tiger Moth. Actually, the Tiger Moth, they recommend a 4-cell, I think, for that, but I've always flown it with a 3-cell, and for the kind of scale flying I do with it. This is the Dynam Tiger Moth I'm talking about. About, what, 5-foot wingspan, something like that. And as I say, they kind of recommend a 4-cell, and I'm sure you can do fancier, more powerful things with a 4-cell, but you can, you know, you can loop it and everything fine with a 3-cell. I think you do anything, you know, scale flying, anything an actual Tiger Moth you could do with a 3-cell. So I've always flown it with a 3-cell. Less cells to go wrong, less cost in the first place. I'm a bit resistant. I do have a couple of 4-cells, but I'm a bit resistant to getting into big batteries because it's just more cost and more cells to fail. Gonna have to buy some batteries. There's another plane going by high up in the sun. I am gonna have to buy some new batteries at some point. I mean, I didn't buy any batteries this year or last year, I don't think. So my batteries are sort of 2 to 6 years old, which is, yeah, well, 6 years is certainly pushing it for LiPos. You've got to be careful, see what sort of voltage they're supplying, and they get warm because of the internal resistance. They supply less voltage and they get warm because the internal resistance builds up as they get older. This seems to be, well, I'm hardly using them, I'm just using the battery for the controls here. Well, I'm a bit high to land, aren't I? But I'm not very high. Little bit of motor here, because I mostly want to come into land now. Level out and put the speed brakes on. I didn't really need to put the speed brakes on because I was almost on the ground before I put the speed brakes on, right? Yeah. But see, there's the speed brakes, and they've actually got two positions. That's the speed brakes fully deployed.
Speed brake open.
And that's the speed brake partially deployed. There doesn't seem to be a voice in the DX9 for saying partially deployed, so.
Speed brake closed. Speed brake open. Spoilers. Speed brake closed. Throttle cut on.
There you go. And we'll have a look and see where the battery is. So I only used 2 minutes and 8 seconds of motor time there in that little flight. Now, as you can see, but the battery is kind of puffed. It's about time to be giving up on it, I think. It was fully charged. It's down to 11.6, so, 3.86 a cell. I mean, yeah, 3.86 a cell, 3.2, almost, the cells are balanced pretty much, 3.86, 3.85, 3.86, and it was supplying, and it's not particularly warm. It's warm. A teeny bit warm. Not by any means hot. You can just about feel that it's, warmer than the ambient temperature, but that's about it. But, I mean, it is nastily puffed looking, but I don't really particularly want to throw it out, given that it's, it seems to charge without getting warm, charges without getting warm at all at 1C, and flies the plane without getting particularly warm, and still seems to work. So I'm hesitant to throw it out, but, it's, well, I say throw it out, of course you can't throw them out, you've got to take him in as hazardous waste when you want to get rid of him, take him back to the hobby shop or take him into the hazardous waste. Anyway, so we're going to have to take that apart again, of course, and that's going to take another quarter of an hour or so to take it apart, but I think I'm going to fly the little Waco first before the wind gets up. So, another quarter of an hour or so's work, and the Radian XL large is broken back down to its components again, ready to be stowed in the car. Yeah, nice plane, but that's why it doesn't get flown more often, honestly, because I've got to, go through this this process of, you've got to take the screws out these, pull them out, the supporting struts for the outer wings. I noticed that now, I don't know, it's getting older a bit, the outer wings do actually wobble. Well, I don't exactly wobble, but they come out a little bit and twist, because these, there's a certain amount of, well, that's fairly rigid, but there's a certain amount of movement in that and whatever. But it doesn't, I mean, it's not going to cause a problem. There's no way they're going to come off. They're held, the screws go right through the tabs, and they've got those extra, and these struts are strong as well. They've got those strong struts in. So there's no way they're actually going to break, but they kind of tend to open up, so they leave a little groove. They don't stay snug right tight in. Anyway, generally happy with that as well.